Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. Let's take stock of what the world markets have done, what is it that the global news flow is, and then move on to the trade setup. So, Asian markets are mixed in early trading. Xi Jinping of China has pledged to continue opening up the market on own terms, more importantly. US President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Modi will have bilateral meetings in New Delhi on September 8th. So as per an article that I was reading somewhere, this is arguably one of the strongest US India bonding that we've seen in recent times, and that only augurs well for both the economies. BMW has unwrapped a new generation EV to take on Tesla and China's BYD. More importantly, we're starting to see some of those in India as well. If you're a US market fan, Blackstone and Airbnb are set to join S&P 500, so some changes there. And from an India perspective, CCR has approved Singapore at acquiring certain stake in Air India. Now, what did the US markets do in Friday's session? Well, it was nothing kind of a day. I mean, maybe a third of a percent for the Dow, so you can't call it a nothing. But S&P was flattish, Nasdaq was flattish. Frankly, on that base, Dow was also flattish, so a third of a percent. Nothing dramatic. You could argue maybe a bit positive. And the other cues, the 2-year yield certainly fell off. The 10-year yield is at 4.19, by the way. But because of the jobs data that came up, the 2-year yield came off quite rapidly in Friday's session. And is that an indicator of what could be happening on terms of the Fed speak? In fact, there is a Bloomberg story which says that it is a pause from BlackRock to PIMCO. Most bond investors are betting that the Fed hiking is over. No hikes. In fact, BlackRock's Jeff Rosenberg calls the 2-year treasuries a screaming buy, which is why I think the yields fell as well. Of course, the wager is that as the focus shifts to the timing of a potential Fed pivot to easing, short maturity notes will fare better than long-term traded bonds. So it may well happen, viewers, and I still have to show you the 10-year yield, but it may well happen that the activity actually shifts to the US 2-year yield. So bear that in mind. I'll try as much as I can to try and talk about that in the morning as well. So in Friday's session, I repeat, the 10-year yield did not move too much, but the US 2-year yield certainly came off. Okay, what is the implication of all of this? Asia is marginally positive. The GIFT Nifty indicates a start, which is marginally positive. But as I've said, the GIFT Nifty, unfortunately, isn't quite the strongest indicator of what will happen in the day, to be honest. Let's see if it indicates what happens in the start correctly. Now, keep in mind, we had a bit of a move in Friday's session, a really strong up move. Every single day. Now, I've been thinking that whenever I've spoken about the markets is unlikely to do this, that is what it does. The only thing that I think I'm getting right is that the Nifty is wedged in this range. At every higher level, it is seeing selling. At every lower level, it is seeing buying. So what happened on Friday? Nifty ended up 181 points, up about 0.94%. India VIX decreased by 5.8%, which is also positive. The Bank Nifty increased by 1% as well. PNB and IndusInd Bank led the charge. Broader markets continue to rise. Nifty Mid Cap Index 0.84%, Nifty Small Cap 100 1.17%. Nifty Metal was the top gainer, followed by Nifty Energy. Both of these indices very strong move. In fact, a breakout move on the metal space, and that's a part of my trade setup. So I borrowed a line from Dr. C.K. Narayan when it comes to the trade setup today, because it does seem like that the low of August, which is 19218 for the futures on the futures side, is an immediate line in the sand for the Nifty, and very likely that holds on. And if that gets broken, then you think of what could happen next, and could there be some downsides? But else, it seems to be that line in the sand. PSU stocks continue to see traction in addition to real estate names. And the metal index, like I said, showed that breakout move on Friday and will be keenly watched out for. Remember, some of the stocks have done well, some haven't as yet. And there is positive news for Tata Steel in the session, so that might only aid the sentiment on the metal space. Plus, if the China opening up is for real and continues, then that only adds to the optimism around ferrous metals as well. So be mindful of that. Some key price and volume buzzers in that session on Friday were BHEL, which was up 12%. Very strong move there. Vodafone Idea 10%, and that has continued. Vodafone Idea, if you look at the 5-day chart, a 10-day chart, Vodafone Idea has been a big, strong gainer was strength in MCX and sale. No surprise, their metals were active. Was up 7% at around 4 times volume. So good going there for this one as well. Now, having said that, and having spoken about indices to focus on, what about the key stocks to monitor in the session today? I think that becomes a key thing as well. So I'll start off with I'll obviously start off with Kotak Bank. Uday Kotak has stepped down as CEO. Now, I know there's a lot of brouhaha around this and what it could do, etc., etc. I was looking at what brokerages are saying as well. I spoke to a few people. For most people, it's a non-event. And frankly, I looked at the statistic. Over the last 4 years, Kotak has derated from 4 times price to book to 2.3 times price to book, and it trades at par with HDFC Bank and at a discount to ICICI Bank. And during this period, Kotak Bank has actually improved the ROEs to 15%. Now, if you're a Kotak Bank shareholder for the last 2 years, you'll be grumbling because the stock hasn't given returns. In fact, the last few weeks or months, Kotak along with HDFC Bank has significantly come off and derated. But the fundamentals have not been too bad. Yes, growth numbers could be questioned a little bit relative to maybe some of the others, but the fundamentals are very strong. Can HDFC Bank and Kotak Bank end their bouts of underperformance soon? Remains to be seen. I've asked this question to multiple people who can talk stocks. So Nirav Sheth of MK, when we spoke to him last, said that it's very difficult to time when this up move will come in into these stocks. But when it comes, they'll just gallop ahead and won't give you a time. So he thought it was a good idea to stay invested in these stocks, even if they haven't made returns. Just bringing to you what he said. You can tune in and try and hear that conversation on our YouTube platforms or Twitter or our website as well. Then ICICI Lombard is the other one in focus. ICICI Bank has gotten the IRDA nod to buy additional 4% stake in the company to take its stake above 51%. Should keep the stock excited, I reckon. Tata Steel, UK has neared the deal on a £500 million pound support, for the company as per Sky News, and it's reported on Bloomberg. So watch out for Tata Steel. Like I said, metals were active, and this one has some positive news for itself, so could be active. GMR Power would be very active. GMR Smart Electricity Distribution Private has bagged a 5,000 crore, 5,123.37 crore order to be precise, from Purvanchal Vidyut Vitran Nigam. The company is going to supply X lakh smart meters over 27 months and operate them for 93 months. And this is a unit of GMR Power and Urban Infra. Last week, we saw Genus Power bagged a 2,000 crore order as well. So both GMR and Genus bagging orders. Smart metering seems to be here and now. These companies are at the forefront of that game and are bagging orders, and they should only construe positively for them. Viewers, you need to, if people have picked the right pockets, you pick the railway business, you pick the smart metering, and there's so much of disbelief about PSU businesses or B2G businesses that they are surprising on the upside. I mean, GMR is not PSU, but it's B2G. But PSU is defense, and defense stocks, and the way they have gotten orders and the way they have risen, whether you believe or not believe, and I've heard multiple fund managers tell me that, oh, we don't look at PSUs at all. Well, and well, it's a strategy that they are following. It's working for them. As an individual investor, if you want to make the bigger bang for the buck, it would have been a mistake to not look at PSUs. For a large investor, they follow principles for years, and therefore their investors are okay with it. Right? They've accepted into that rationale, and that's okay. But otherwise, it has been a mistake to not look at PSUs. They've done phenomenally well. It has been a mistake not to look at B2G companies. They've done phenomenally well. Frankly, almost all businesses currently, because of the government capex, are B2G. I urge you not to get caught in that narrative as an individual investor. Try and examine all that's happening, book to bill ratios, payables, etc. Some of those are improving dramatically under the current regime. So do watch out for them. BEL, impact with Israel Aerospace Industries to collaborate on short-range air defense systems. Watch out for that one. Watch out for Paras Defense. The company's gotten a patent from the government of India on 3 products. Well, I don't know in detail about this, but I doubt that too many companies are getting patents on defense products. And if they are, then maybe all of them are doing well. So this could be interesting. I don't know the extent of benefit for this. For all you know, it may be meaningless, by the way. So please do your own research. We are trying to see and talk to the company and see how meaningful could this be. If it is meaningful, we'll try and get a conversation with the management as well to tell you about it. So keep that in mind. IDBI Bank would be in focus. DIPAM has invited bids for asset valuers for the bank. The company is looking to sell about 30.48% stake, and LIC is looking to offload 30.24% stake along with the transfer of management control. So watch out for IDBI Bank, could be active. Um, Auto sales for Hero MotoCorp and Eicher Motors. Well, Royal Enfield continues to do okay. Hero MotoCorp, surprising. I mean, these numbers look okay, not that bad, if you will, compared to I think the last few months. But the people are used to seeing a number of over 5 lakh. It's consistently below that 5 lakh mark, so bear that in mind. Deepak Fert has signed 2 gas purchase agreements with GAIL for the next 3 years. And in case of Deepak Fertilizer, I think their ammonia plant has come on stream, which could actually be constructive for the company. So do watch out for Deepak Fertilizers as well. And IDFC First Bank, GQG Partners, Emerging Markets Equity Fund, and Goldman Sachs GQG Partners International Opportunities have bought shares via bulk deals. The GQG combined stake bought is 2.6% to the two funds. Watch out, maybe this could be in focus as well. Okay, so those are a few things. Am I missing out on something? Let's see. Hang on. I'm sure I am missing out on something. So there are some queries as well. So prospects of RVNL for the very long term. Vinay Kumar Singh ji, I mean, I wish I could comment on a stock. I can't, but almost everybody is constructive on this bullish, on this pack. And you've seen multiple stocks, right, do well from this bucket. So there is no reason why RVNL, let's just pull out the data. Uh, and I think RVNL has actually done reasonably well in the recent past. Yep, it is 12% up in the last 1 month alone, 111% up over the last 6 months. So it is another stock in this bucket which is done well, but everything related to railways is doing very, very well. And there's an HSBC report which is, I think, storified on, and a story around that report is there on our website, which actually speaks about the kind of plans that railways seems to be having and the long tenure of those plans. So maybe RVNL might be doing okay. Well, I'll tell you what, at the 11 a.m. show in the next few days, we'll try and get a query going on RVNL. Producers, let's just ensure that our colleagues Hiral and Alex get a note of this, because our viewers might benefit by that conversation. So we should try and get that query answered on the show. I urge you, Mr. Singh, to try and log onto that show. We'll try and ask some experts about this one. But frankly, just from a space perspective, it looks okay. Okay, very quickly, have I missed out on anything? Yeah. So Bharat Forge has made world's first electric artillery gun. And this could be interesting, by the way, because there are some lot of positives around that that I hear on social media. So that could be interesting. Government has cut the windfall taxes. It's positive for RIL and ONGC, and ONGC was very active. So that is really good. And viewers, watch out for a lot of stocks on which there are stories now coming to the fore. Some of it might be true, some of it might be false, but please study them carefully. I mean, Vodafone has been a rank outperformer the last few days. Indus Towers might benefit as a result of it, but be mindful of all the things that come out into. And Vodafone is a government company now, largely, you could argue that. But Indiabulls Housing Finance the last few days has done remarkably well. Stock in an F&O ban, and lot of talk of some fundraising as well happening in there. In Kesoram, again, people are talking about that. So a few stocks on which you got to be mindful of that. And if indeed steel companies have hiked prices, then this could be constructive for the metal companies as well. So be mindful of that. Nevertheless, that's the long and short of the trade setup for today. Interesting conversations lined up today on PQ Prime. Vinay Jaising of JM Financial Services joins in at 10 a.m. on Talking Point. So do try and tune in for that. There is a clutch of management conversations during this week. So starting tomorrow, we'll kind of fill you in on all of those as well. Some very interesting corporate conversations. You might want to tune in for some of those. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Trade Setup.